Good evening from the UK and welcome to those listening in to the CPH Open Forum. My name is Som Jandu and I'm the president of the College of Practical Homeopathy. And the other lady you can see on screen is Ellen Kramer, who is the founder of the College of Practical Homeopathy. Say hi, Ellen.
Hi, welcome this evening to the Open Forum, and it's nice that you've attended. This forum is for you to ask questions about CPH and what we offer as a training college of homeopaths. So this is really about you asking us questions.
Okay, so I'm going to run through a short presentation with a few slides, and please ask any questions after the end of the presentation. It'll take a few moments to share with you what we're about, okay? So we at the College of Practical Homeopathy, we have a mission, we have a vision. I want to share with you what our values are. Our mission is to become the global leader in practical homeopathic education. And we aim to do this by making learning practical homeopathy efficient and affordable to people all around the world, whatever current country or currency they use. And our vision is to have CPH qualified homeopaths that work from a practical basis in every country to help heal patients. Very noble vision. And our values is that we share our learnings as we learn to keep homeopathy progressing towards the future. What this means is even people who graduate with us and they leave the college, they never actually leave because they stick around on our social groups and they stay current with advances in homeopathic practice, with new illnesses that may arise, such as COVID. We were ready and prepared and able to handle it. So we share in real time. We don't hold anything back to then sell you another course in the future. So you really learn, earn, and grow with us as we learn, earn, and grow. For those of you who don't know much about us, we've become the leading institute for training professional homeopaths all around the world. So we don't just train people who want to do a little bit to help their families. There are courses for that. Other colleges provide short courses, but we create qualified, licensed professionals who can handle anybody, including their family and friends. But we've also achieved a number of firsts along the way in that. We were the first college in the world to provide professional homeopathic qualifications online. And then other colleges are now trying to follow through, even the major institutes, such as universities like Harvard and Cambridge, since COVID. But we've been doing it for about 20 years. We were the first college in the UK to be recognized and accredited to create licensed practitioners in most of the continents around the world. We're the only homeopathic school to be accredited by the prestigious British Accreditation Council. Now, they accredit trainers of education in any field, not just homeopathy. So it's a very, very nice honor to be accredited by them for our standards of delivery of the quality of education. We're also the first to be an accredited member of the newly formed Institute of Homeopathic Accreditation. Now, this sits at the pinnacle of accrediting other colleges in the UK, and we're the first college to be accredited by them as a leader in the field. We're also the first to offer year-round courses. There are no turn times, no intakes. You start when it suits you and your lifestyle. We are also the first to teach holistic homeopathy. By that, we mean incorporating herbs, nutrition, supplements, flower essences. We teach the basics of the Chinese 5 elements and how to use that to interpret the language of the body. And we also teach the chakra system to learn about the 7 chakras from the Indian Ayurvedic system. So you use these tools for understanding the body. Then we add to that bowel nosos, meditative provings, matridonal remedies, and you learn anatomy, physiology, pathology, pharmacology, endocrinology along the way. It really is a very complete and comprehensive course. No other college in the world provides that level of integrated holistic homeopathy. We have an increasing global presence. The stars don't do it justice, but we didn't want to crowd our screen. We had over 4,000 students graduated, We've treated over 50,000 patients. We had over 150 webinars held. And by our students and by our peers, we're proud to say that we've got the badge of being voted the #1 college. In fact, some of the principals at other colleges have actually been trained and have come from the CPH themselves. We have 2 courses which lead to the same license. One is called the professional training for people who know nothing about homeopathy. So about 40% of our students are on that course. It's a 3-level course. And the other is a postgraduate licentiate for people who are existing healthcare professionals, be they doctors, nurses, pharmacists, or even alternative healthcare practitioners, osteopaths, homeopaths, Reiki practitioners. And what we found over the last few years, the quality of the course is gaining such a reputation that people who are already qualified in other fields wish to study at a postgraduate level with us to enhance their service offerings to their patients and clients. So we have 2 courses, but 1 qualification, the LCPH, the licentiate from the College of Practical Homeopathy. And being qualified here entitles you to use the letters after your name, so people all around the world know that you're qualified from an accredited college. On the left, you can see the professional training course. This is equivalent to a regular degree in most countries in the world, and it's a 3-level, 30-module course, certificate, diploma, and your final license. On the right-hand side is the postgraduate licentiate. It's at the master's degree equivalent course because it's very intense, and it's a 12-module course, and it's for existing healthcare professionals and complementary medicine practitioners. And as we see at the bottom there, no start time or term time or date. You start when you're ready to begin. You enroll, you download the course materials, and you begin your lessons. You will have an assigned personal tutor to tailor your development to your individual learning needs. We all learn differently, and your tutors will be experts in guiding you towards that. There are no exams to take. You simply qualify by submitting real-life cases and your coursework, which is very practical based. This enables you to become qualified already having treated and in many cases cured many ailments and illnesses that you will see. This experience is further enriched by student clinics, tutorials, both in person, online, through Zoom, etc. Meet and teach weekends, which were increasing over the last few years. These are great gatherings where students meet one another. We have a very intense couple of days of learning where you bring your own cases to study, your real life cases, and we'll teach you other things that are outside of the course materials that we learn and share as we go, which was part of our vision on the first slide. That's also supplemented further with webinars, audios, and student groups who often meet regularly themselves to share their learnings. All our tutors who are assigned to you are actual graduates from the college themselves. So they've actually been where you are and through the course materials. The course content, as we touched earlier, comprises all these various subjects to give you the qualification as a practical homeopath. So this does not leave you short after this course. And what we find is after qualifying here, our students don't really go on to learn any of the courses or study any of the courses because they feel their knowledge is complete and continued post-graduation by staying engaged with us. Our style of learning. Now, most people have seen this learning pyramid. If you look towards the base of the pyramid, the active learning is where we apply, discuss, teach others, and practice what we've learned to make it real. The top of the pyramid, the lecturing or reading in classrooms, which is very old-fashioned. It's feeding your brain with theory, but not enough practice and discussion and engagement. That doesn't work in the modern world. We need interaction, engagement, sharing, and practical experience. What makes us unique is that when we take our cases, we focus on case analysis. We don't just collect a bunch of symptoms to see what the patient presents with, because some symptoms are directly caused by a disease. Some are caused by side effects of other things. So we don't know how to prioritize them. But if we look at the case analysis and analyze, we will know how to differentiate and to see what got the patient from wellness to illness. Once we are clear what needs curing, then we can decide what is the most appropriate method. This gives us the right tools to help us choose the right remedy or combination of remedies that may be needed. What does this mean for you and your clients? It means your success rate, your confidence, your competence, and your practice all grow. It also makes you adaptable to any situation that your patients may present with. So you don't fear, and we don't try and treat allopathic names that people may present with. We are human. We manifest diseases in many different ways. They're given different names. What we try to uncover is the cause that led us to that. This enables you to be a free thinker, not trapped in dogma, open your mind, and equip you with the skills that you need to succeed. We have a phrase here at CPH called CEO, cause, effects, and obstacles to cure. The patients come with their symptoms, which are the effects of things happening in their life. Our job is to determine the cause and remove any obstacles that are preventing them towards being well again. So we say etiology before symptomology. And this little triangle we call the 3 T's of disease. Patients can present with a trauma, short-term or long-term. I've never been well since I had an accident 25 years ago, or I just banged my fingers in the car door earlier. We may become ill due to toxicity, environmental, social, recreational, drugs, medicines, pollutants, etc. If it's not a trauma or it's not a toxin in my body, it's got to be my thought processes, which cascade down, alter my hormones, affect my neurons, and change my body systems. What we call physiology, when gone wrong, leads to pathology, disease. So that's our process. That's how we will unravel each case. Once we've done that, we have a little table here. This is from Kramer's book, Methods in Homeopathic Prescribing, which we highly suggest you buy. It's a simple little book, but it's got 15 different methods to help you find and treat your patients. And this little flowchart guides you along the way. Once you know that, you've got a bunch of methods on the left-hand side called part patients, because sometimes the patient has organs that have been removed, disease states that they're in, drugs they're taking, which have their own complications. So then we treat the parts of the patient that need healing first, or we treat the patient in parts. If they're absolutely fine, we look on the right-hand side, we have a bunch of methods called whole patient methods, where we can treat the patient in their entirety to help bring their vital force back to where they need to be to heal themselves and strengthen themselves and prevent further illnesses. That's our short little presentation. Hopefully you've got some questions for us. There may be some in the chat. If you want to unmute your microphone and ask us directly, we'll be delighted to talk to you further. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Som.
Let's see if we have any questions.
And
Anybody have any questions for us? Very, very quiet. If you have a question, please feel free to unmute your microphone, or you can ask it in the chat that's at the bottom of the screen.
or can they unmute their video so we can meet them?
If they want to unmute videos, they can do. If you wish to meet us.
Okay, I see that we've got one question here.
We have a Q&A question. What was the name of the book again with the chart? Alan, do you like to talk about your book?
Som, you're the one who's you've thumbed through it, underlined it. So please, I wrote it, and now the students underline everything. So
I'll share
please,
that. Okay.
yeah, please chat about it, because
The
otherwise
book,
I feel I'm blowing my own horn. And
that's fair enough. The book is called Methods of Homeopathic Prescribing by Kramer, who you can see on your screen, smiling sheepishly. It's a fantastic little book. She's condensed all her knowledge into help people guide and collate their thoughts when they see a patient. And there's many different methods. And let me expand on that a little bit for you. Sometimes people ask us to enroll and they say, well, what kind of homeopathy do you teach? Do you teach the classical method? Well, that's one method of many. It's like asking me, do you listen to music and do you listen to classical music? Yes, I do, but my tastes are very eclectic. So the classical method is how they started 300 years ago because they knew no better. But as we say, once you know better, do better. So it's a method. It's the first method we teach. But then we go beyond that to so many other methods. Very similar to music, a tune and a note is a note. It's how you put the notes together that creates the magic, which is called music. So when we understand the language and the harmony and the symphony of the human body, that is what we tune our ears into. So methods are just ways of thinking about the human body. So the book is called Methods of Homeopathic Prescribing. So when you see a patient in a certain way, you can use a different method to affect their healing. Hopefully that answers your question. I've been a student here myself when I enrolled. And as Ellen said, I read the book literally hundreds of times. It's dog-eared, it's thumbed, it's highlighted with annotations. I teach courses now. I've been a graduate here. I co-run and own the college with Ellen, but it's still my go-to book for all things. Because Ellen's genius is a way of taking the complex and making it simple, taking the hard to understand and making it effective to apply. So for those of you who may be homeopaths or interested, use the book to start you. It will not get you a qualification. It will not get you patients, but it helps you think if you're helping to treat your loved ones. Hopefully that answers your question. Do we have any more? No? Does anybody want to speak to us directly?
Well, I see we've got Jenny Crockett, and I think, Jenny, if you're there, you're one of our students. Unless it's a completely different Jenny Crockett.
Might be. Before we do that, we have somebody who's raised a hand. So I want to click and allow you to talk, hopefully, and you can speak to us. Deborah Cummings, hello. Good evening from the UK.
Hello, I'm sorry. I am having a sick day today, and so I probably don't look presentable. But I had to cancel my patients. So I have been originally an occupational therapist, and most of the work that I have been done has been shaped by osteopathy and structural integration. And then I use homeopathy to support healing, because I find people just really need help in between sessions. I don't like to treat people. I like to have space to let their whole body, their own self-organizing system come into play. And so we work with the same principles, really, that homeopathy does. And so my question, let's see, to make a long story short, is how when you talk about being an integrative program. So I missed most of what you guys said, but I've heard you talk before. How would you integrate a modality like osteopathic work into homeopathy? How do you do that, or if you do that in your course?
Ellen, before you answer that, thank you very much, Deborah, for asking. I've just, in the background, hopefully I've done it correctly and enabled the chat function so other people can chat. From what we understand is it was disabled, but it should be enabled for people to text and type to us. Sorry to interrupt that, Deborah. Ellen, would you like to answer the question?
If you're looking at human beings and where their symptoms are coming from, you need to know the underlying cause of where those symptoms are coming from, because symptoms are the conversation the body is having with the individual. How you integrate physical therapies with homeopathy is the homeopathy is going to get you back to analyzing the case and looking at where those symptoms have come from. So once you take your case from a homeopathic perspective, the physical problems they're having will make sense. And then when you're doing your structural integrated work with your patient, because you're taking them out of trauma, you're removing obstacles to cure, they will hold whatever it is that you're going to be doing with them. That's going to hold. So long as they're still in trauma and there's tension, essential minerals and nutrients aren't there, you can do the structural work you want, but it will actually end up going back to what the body knows, because the original message or trauma hasn't been sorted out. So for us, understanding what those messages are, what that conversation is. And we use a chart which tells us, to help us in our understanding of the language, which tells us every part of the body, what that means if you're showing symptoms in that part of the body, if you're showing pain in that part of the body. So that helps the practitioner to get a deeper understanding of why the patient has those symptoms. I hope I've answered your question, Deborah.
Well, yeah, it's like just a bigger picture of the underlying, and you're absolutely correct. I do a lot of trauma work.
Yes.
And really complex kind of things, and I get really good results, but then there's always the people that get stuck, and how do you support that so we can get a complete healing?
Well,
And
this
so
is
that,
where
yeah, so you have a actual process of evaluation that we put things into.
and
Okay.
you can use your remedies to take them out of trauma. So the remedies, once you get the right context for prescribing, and this is why we teach you all these different methods, when you have the right context, you can support the patient to come out of whatever trauma they're holding. The conversation, the symptoms are the conversation. And people are very misguided and thinking that's what needs curing. It's not. It's actually the cause of the symptoms. I think Som's going to pipe in here.
Deborah, we have a phrase here at CPH. We say, symptoms are the signs of the body, and disease is the dialogue of the body. So our question and challenge to us is, are we listening? The body's trying to talk to us. If we try and remove the symptom alone, what we're saying to the body is, please shut up. So we're missing the message it's trying to tell us. What we want to say is, I hear you, I need to go deeper. And I'm going to use this to bounce onto, to bridge over to a question Nancy's asked. Now, if I'm in the UK here and I want to get to the USA, I can get an airplane to take me there, and signs will say, get to whichever state or city. They're just signs. I haven't got there yet. They're just pointing me in the direction. So when the body's in pain, when the physiological processes break down, it's telling us something is not working right in the information system, not in the doing system. Similar to a car. Nowadays, if we get our car serviced, they take it to the garage and they put it on diagnostics. Every car has a computer inside the brain. It says it's telling us where the physical problem is, an exhaust, an engine, or whatever. Our body is very similar. It's way better. So, as we said with the 3 T's, if it's not a trauma or a toxin, they might present that way. But if a thought process has caused it, or as you said, you get some results, then there's what we call a block, an obstacle to cure. Learning this will enhance your practice by giving you extra insights into your patients already to treat them and complement what you're doing and taking to the level that they've not been, that nor have you ever achieved. Not only will that improve your record, but it will set you aside in your peer group because you do things differently. It's adding another set of skills to what you already experienced in your practice with the body, you see? Hopefully that answers it. And
absolutely.
To know further, you're going to have to enroll with us because these are some of the skills that we teach.
Right.
And I say that with a smirk because that's the beauty of the learning journey. It's like, oh gosh, I've got to learn. We're not here on a recruitment campaign. If it feels right, talk to us further, talk to us one-to-one, have as many discussions as you need with us. We're happy to share. So hopefully that's answered. If you want to reflect and ask further, please do so.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm going to address a hand-raising question here, so I'll come to you straight. Nancy, thank you for asking that. Your question to those who may not see it is, I live in the United States. If I would like to come to the UK for clinical experience, is that possible? Absolutely. We've had many students fly over to attend our live clinics that we hold once a month. There's one in the first week in October. However, we also have Zoom clinics like this, where students present the cases from all over the world. Well, I'm holding one tomorrow with our students. We're going to have probably about 100 attendees if we're lucky. Some normally is between 50, 60, 70, 80, etc., where people present their live cases and we discuss them. So this allows us, even if we haven't got our own clients, to experience what it's like to take a case, analyze the case, come to a prescription. The other thing is, what we do is we do what's called meet and teach weekends, where I, myself and Ellen, we fly around the world, we meet our students for 2 or 3 days of intensive homeopathy, because we have many, many cases which you guys present to us. We have other things that we share in our own patients that are not in your cases or coursework, which is all the ethos and the vision and the values about sharing as we grow. So if you cannot come to us, we try and come to you a couple of times a year. In fact, Ellen's just come back from St. Lucia. She's off to Bermuda in the Caribbean next week for a short while. I might be coming back up to the USA maybe later on this year. Definitely a few trips planned for next year as well. So we try and reach you physically, virtually, online, as you wish. So if you want to come, we'll be delighted to welcome you, as many others have come in the past as well. Hopefully that answers that question. I think we have a few more in the chat as well. Is the way that you can tell if it's a trauma versus a toxin versus a thought?
Yes.
You can only tell through a detailed timeline. This is and that's what we teach you how to do, to differentiate. Sometimes a thought can lead to trauma, and the trauma manifests as a disease. Sometimes a thought can lead to the body to change the way it processes things, and that could create toxins within us if our routes of elimination are not clear as well. Someone else has asked a question here saying, please, what is the best practice to give a second prescription? Well, the best practice is to go back to the case, analyze what's changed from the first to the second, not just in terms of symptoms. Because what we also say is don't become a symptom-taking secretary. Conventional medicine teaches us to only talk in symptoms. When I see a patient for a follow-up or a second prescription, the first thing I ask them is, how are you? What's happening in your life? What's changed in your life? I'm not just looking at the prescription to change a remedy or change the potency or frequency of a remedy. I want to understand what's going on around them, because that will affect what's going on inside them. Hopefully that answers that question. Anybody else? Alan, any comments on that while we wait for people to type or write?
Yes, I think it's important to put everything into the right context. And this is why a timeline, when we teach you case taking, we teach you how to take a good timeline where you can put the sequence of events. Because if something's coming from the mind, that trauma or shock or that emotional abuse, whatever it is, will have a sequence of thoughts that go with it and feelings. And those feelings and thoughts become manifest in symptoms in the physical body, because the physical body is listening to what you're thinking, and it's going to produce those symptoms. The timeline will give you the context, because sometimes people will tell you specifically, I've never been well since I was given this drug. You can see that in the timeline, that they've never been well, or they've never been well since an accident. So I remember having a patient who had psoriasis, and he'd had psoriasis since he was a child. He tried everything, and he was desperate because he was getting married, and he wanted help with his psoriasis because it was on his face and on his body, and he just wanted help from it. As I took the timeline, I found that this psoriasis started 2 years after he was almost hit by a bus as an 12-year-old coming back from school. So he stepped in the road and he was almost hit by a bus, so he nearly died. And then out of that started the psoriasis. So once I went back to the trauma, and the remedy for that is aconite, once I went back there, the psoriasis began improving. So that's coming out of shock. So when you're taking timelines, you can clearly see what's going on. If you don't take a timeline, you don't understand what the symptoms are telling you. And this is the reason why we teach the 5 elements, as Som mentioned earlier, because the 5 elements is a tried and tested map of cause and effects. It tells you, it shows you what's going on in terms of mental, emotional, and what's happening in the physical body. So when a patient says to you, oh, you know, I wake up every morning around about 3 a.m. Well, if you're looking at the 5 elements, you know that that's the lung hour. So where's the grief? When did they go into grief? Because that's what the body's telling you. It's not a random time modality. It's conversation. You see, when I learned homeopathy, we saw these random time modalities in our repertory, and we were just looking for remedies. We didn't understand what the body was saying. And as a practitioner, because I tend to think outside the box, I wanted to understand what it was that the body was saying to me. And this is why I began to use the 5 elements. And I encourage all the students to use it to guide them in their cause and effects and understanding what the body's saying. And, you know, the Chinese have been using it for over 5,000 years, and I've never found it wrong as you know, as an observational tool. So you're going to learn observational tools, learning the language. So I can see you've got a smile on your face.
I'm trying to, because I want to reach across to the people who are conventionally allopathically trained with traditional, what I call Newtonian medicine, physics, etc., and to the people who are in it from an energetic point of view without touching on any faith whatsoever. So if we imagine that we are a bunch of flesh, bones, blood, nerves, etc. There's something inside us that brings us to life. You might call it a soul or a spirit. For the instance of today, let's call it energy. So this energy in us is called thought processes, okay? Now we know this because in our brain, we have all these neurons inside our brain, but we have 3 fantastic little glands in there, the pineal gland, the hypothalamus, and the pituitary, often combined together, hypothalamus and pituitary, called the master glands. We know that our nerves and our synapses sense the world all around us. So we call that thought. In homeopathy, we call it mental. We turn that thinking, because it's all in the mind, we turn that thinking, and our hypothalamus, pituitary, and pineal gland release hormones and precursors of other hormones, which cascade down through our entire body and change our heart rate, our eyes, our appetite, our feelings, our emotions, our monthly cycles, when cells get switched on, when we grow, when puberty hits, when menopause hits, when we feel angry or frightened. It governs everything. These are called emotions. So in homeopathic language, we call it mental emotional symptoms. So everything actually starts up in the mind and cascades down into the body. If we use a simple thing like high blood pressure, they call it hypertension. Great. So from a conventional medicine point of view, I can think, well, that is too much tension in the body. We try and focus on blood vessels and the heart if we're allopaths, thinking open the blood vessels, slow the heart rate down, and I might reduce the blood pressure. We might turn around and say, look at the cause that's causing you to be tense. As above, so below, hormones will cascade down. We'll have a hormone such as adrenocorticotropic hormone. Adreno is adrenals, cortico, which means it will also release cortisol. These are our stress hormones, what we call our fight or flight. So they will directly from our brain impact our adrenal glands, which sit on top of our kidneys, and alert us into the fight or flight response. So the thought changes my physiology. The physiology changes my body, which then causes a pathology. And it does that through endocrinology, the hormones. So everything is linked. But doctors can change the pathology and physiology by putting chemicals and medicines to lower heart rate and open blood vessels. No one's ever said, I need to make you think better. Often they give you an antidepressant. That just rewires my brain, but it doesn't get rid of what we call the cause and effects. So hypertension is the effect. The cause might be, with the timeline will tell us, what is it that stressed me out? Then it cascades down into my body systems and my organs to create a disease called a pathology. So if we reverse that back and think, hang on, are you telling me if I look at the mental emotions, I can reverse the pathology? Yes. Homeopaths have been doing it for 300 years. You can do it very rapidly if there are no obstacles. Now, if I take some blood pressure medication into my body that the doctors prescribed me, something like a beta blocker or whatever else they might give. Now, that's a chemical acting on a chemical level, not as an energetic or neurological level. It's going to alter my pathology. So I am now no longer the person who had blood pressure. I'm the person who had blood pressure, plus I've been changed because the medicine has changed my body chemistry. It's also now has to be metabolized by my liver. It has to be excreted by my kidney. Them organs will be affected by doing that year in, year out, year in, year out. That causes a different disease state than my original disease state. So this is why we sometimes say, are we treating a cause or an effect? Is it a thought or a toxin? Because if I've been taking drugs for decades, I'm actually a drug addict, even though it's a prescription drug. And that cumulative effect of the drug on my body will make a toxic environment in my body. It will damage the organs in my body and prevent them working. There are long-term effects of drugs that we're still discovering decades after they've been licensed. So this tells you the interconnectedness of all the body systems. Allopathy separates the body systems like a car. I'm a cardiologist, I'm a nephrologist, I'm a diabetologist, etc. The body is one. We were made from one cell that multiplied. And when we multiply a cell, we amplify any effects that it has. Just like my fingers, if I divert them, after a while, they become wider and wider. So this theory that we have the body in sections, not really. It's one unit from one cell. And the thing that pervades it is the energy, the ether. So here, the way we talk about homeopathy is like this. No other homeopath talks in this way. They talk about remedies. They talk about keynotes of a remedy, or you're so this, you're so phosphorus, you're so pulsatilla. They're just energy. So we also tell people, don't become a walking textbook. You can buy them for 50, 100 bucks. Do what books cannot do, which is think and analyze. Look at your patient with an open mind and compassionate heart and understand where they're on the journey. And then see whereabouts on the journey are you going to start healing. You might have to remove toxicity first to get the body back to normal before you can treat the cause. And that's what Ellen's book says. Which method are you going to use depending on where your patient's at? And one of Ellen's phrases, meet them where they're at, then take them to where they need to be. Hopefully that answers that question in a roundabout way for you and gives you a little taste to think, oh my gosh, I can combine every system of medicine. Yes, you can. And often I tell my students here, I say, when you talk to the other healing arts practitioners, including allopaths, you could turn around and say, I can do what you do and understand what you do, but you cannot understand what I do. Because we aim to study the body holistically. That's our approach here. Hopefully that answers that question. Wonder if there are any more questions. We have no other questions at the moment. Let's wait a moment. Anyone want to raise a hand for a question or put one in the chat or the Q&A? Have another chat question here. Will this webinar be recorded? Yes, it's currently being recorded. Thank you for asking that. And when we finish today, our web person will send a mail shot to people who attended and say, thank you for attending. Here's the link. Are there any questions you have about our approach? Any questions about the courses? Please ask us whilst we're here. Ellen, any other comments from you?
Yeah, my comment is have fun learning. So one of the things that we do is we integrate your learning. This is not a conventional course where things are boxed, put into boxes. This is an integrated training where you will be learning about herbs and nutrition as you go along. The best teachers to teach you homeopathy are actually your patients. And that's why we value our patients as the greatest teachers. I remember when Som was my student and he said, do you think I need to go and do a training in herbalism and nutrition? And I said, no, I don't think so. I think you'll learn all of this as you go along. And he has. He's learned it all as he's gone along. it should be seamless. You know, learning should be interesting, fun, get your curiosity going, and you are doing the research on your patients. You're researching on behalf of your patients. You're understanding. One of the things that a lot of people don't learn, especially in with allopathy, I'm going to start there, but a lot of other systems of medicine is they don't learn pharmacology. In the undergraduate, you learn pharmacology. You need to know the side effects of the drugs and what they're mugging from the body, because that becomes an obstacle to cure. And if you're working in the West, you know, the so-called advanced societies, your patients are going to walk through the door and they've had drugs over and over again. And if they're in their 50s or 60s, they'll come with a bag full of drugs which they've accumulated, and they want you to help them find their health again. And I never say that anything's hopeless. The only thing is, how patient are you with your patients to find their way back to health, because they can. So that's my thoughts on learning, healing, and enjoying the process.
Yeah, I think we've just had another question there, Ellen. Somebody said, you know, will we learn the 5 elements, herbs and supplements? Yes, you will, because you're treating the body, okay? And there's another way we say it here. We say, think of herbs, nutrition, supplement, and diet as the ingredients. Think of the remedies as energetic information, or as I like to call it, as the recipe. You can have a recipe, but without ingredients, you cannot make anything. You have the right ingredients, without the recipe, you don't know what to make. This is why sometimes someone can come to us and say, Som, I'm fit, I'm healthy, I have my herbs, I have my supplements, I juice, I meditate, I practice mindfulness, I do yoga, I go to the gym. Why am I still unwell? Because we've got to deal with the thoughts, the energy side. And the principle of homeopathy is that we all have a vital force, our soul, our spirit, our energy that keeps us alive. How do we know? Because the definition of death is there's no vital force. The body's still there, the organs are still there, the mass is still there, the bones are still there. The life force has gone out, so we are then pronounced dead. So the vital force, we say here, the vital force has gone off course. So disease manifests. We've gone from wellness to illness. So illness is the absence of wellness. To get rid of illness, we don't fight the illness, we add wellness back. We re-stimulate the vital force to come back. Like I'm sitting here under a light. I get rid of darkness, not by taking darkness away, but by adding light. So I get rid of wellness by adding the vital forces, get rid of illness, beg your pardon, by adding the vital forces, wellness back. Then we say, put the vital force on track to bring the healing back. So it's this energy. So we can have all the food in the world, but sometimes through our thought process, we cannot even digest or assimilate the foods that we're eating because our body systems and the energy is off. Our digestion might be off. So you have to have the whole together, holistic homeopathy. So you can't really just give a remedy and say, that's it. It needs the ingredients. Let food be thy medicine and medicine thy food. Start with that first. Then focus on your mind. Don't get it impacted by too many things. Hard to do in the modern age because we're all woke and alert. That means we're extra sensitive. So people are going to come with more complex illnesses than they did before. In the olden days, people were highly suppressed, stiff upper lip, as we say in the UK, don't talk about it. Nowadays, everyone's overexpressing, but no one's dealing with what they're dealing with. So the homeopaths have now finally come to their fore, where people need people who can consult, counsel, heal, and treat, and help the patient help themselves. So we say, here we go, the remedy is the information, the patient is the healer, and we are the facilitator. It keeps us humble, but yet a vital part of their team to heal. They can't heal themselves. Another phrase we have is you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. So we look at them with fresh eyes and say, we understand your journey because I'm here. I can see your journey here. And I can see the things that happen in your life. that took you from being well to being unwell. This simple. So the way we talk about things this way, it brings peace and calmness to people who are worried. For the people who listen student-wise, it gives them confidence that, yes, I can do this. But when we're frightened ourselves, we worry about symptoms. We worry about complex names that the allopaths tell them. I have such and such disease. And sometimes doctors say, it's a rare disease. What the doctors mean is, we've not seen this before. Humans aren't rare. We've been around for nearly a million years on this planet. So when they say it's been unheard of or it's incurable, what the doctors are saying is, according to my system of medicine, I don't know how to cure it. Always remember that. But there are many, many healing arts. We teach that in Module 1. Chiropractors use their hands. Acupuncturists use needles. Aromatherapists use oils. Reiki practitioners use our feet. What they call reflexologists use our feet. Reiki use energy. But with a Reiki practitioner, it depends on the energy of the person giving it. Homeopaths use energy, but it doesn't matter what mood I'm in. Your pills will do their job for you. So every healing art has its healing tools. That should give you a sense of safety, stability, security, and empowerment that there are many, many healing arts, not just one. But in the Western world, we're taught to conventionally think only drugs are the answer. They're never the answer, really. And if you want to research it, if you're the scientists amongst you, research the biggest killer of drugs and the disease in the world, other than disease, is iatrogenic disease, disease caused by taking drugs themselves. And I'll just say this before I get off my box. If I had a meal and I have a side dish, I have my protein and I have my veg and my starchy carbs and etc. They're called my side dishes around my meal, right? I still got to eat them all to have a complete meal. But when I have a drug, I say I'm going to give it for my blood pressure, but these are the side effects. So what they're saying is it still does these, but I'm giving it you for this. So don't ever ignore the side effects. And then they say, well, it doesn't happen to everybody. I can have a glass of water. I can have a shot of wine. I can have a shot of whiskey or a glass of wine. It might be okay for one person. It might be dangerous to somebody else. So don't ignore side effects of drugs because they will have an effect. Something else to be mindful of, just because somebody has an effect and it's not listed on the drug doesn't mean it's due to the drug. Because sometimes companies stop analyzing the data once the drug is licensed and they're not interested in side effects that happen later on. So always be mindful. And as Ellen keeps saying, listen to the patient's body. The body is talking to us all the time. And we've got to be listening like this to understand it, not just focusing on removing their symptom for them because they're in pain of symptoms. So sometimes we'll say to people, you may come in for a condition, but that might not be the remedies I'm giving because I'm looking at the root cause that got you here. It's a different type of dialogue. Anyway, we've been going on for quite a while. I'm hoping that somebody's asked some more questions as well. Somebody says, will we learn the 5 elements as a last year student without going through the 4-year program? This is not a 4-year program. The longer course, the more complete course is called the professional training. It's a 3-level course, not 3 years. There are 30 modules. So if we say aim for a module a month, that's 30 months, which is 2.5 years. So that's while you're studying until you get qualified. As a practical college, we encourage you to take patients even whilst you're studying. So you can earn while you learn, part qualify, you can part charge them. You build up your reputation, you build up your practice. So you can start on that journey already. But it's only 30 months. I've had a lady in Hong Kong do it in a 1.5 years. She whizzed through the course because a lot of it is dependent on your pace of learning. We also understand you're adults, life gets in the way. So you can factor in a bit of time to allow you at a steady pace to get there. This is not a 4-year course. You'll be practicing way before then. And you'll be enjoying it so much, you can't wait to get to the next module. Imagine this, if it's a 30-module course, it's like learning the alphabet with 26 letters. If you're only on modules 1, 2, and 3, you learn A, B, C, you cannot even spell your name yet. So you can think, I can't wait to use all these letters to understand the words. And the alphabet's 26 letters. We can read basic stuff, Sesame Street or Shakespeare. The letters are the same. So when we teach you these methods, these 15 methods over 30 modules, or condensed in 12 for the postgrad, imagine the music you can make, like the 5 musical notes we have. You can make so many melodies. And that's the amazing thing with homeopathy. You'll surprise yourself with how you use the tools that we teach you. Thank you for the endorsement on the chat from Mary and Jenny. Hopefully it helps the people listening in. I'm just having a scan to see if there's any other questions. If we've missed a question, please forgive us. If you have any more, we'll wait a few moments. Otherwise, we might call this meeting to an end. I'm going to pull the slide up one more time, just to share the slide. Bear with me. So you can see a way to contact us should you need to, okay? Now, the bottom right here, you contact us generally at admin@thecph.co.uk if you have any questions. Or you can email me directly, som@thecph.co.uk. For those of you who have smartphones and cameras, there's our QR code. That'll take you straight to our website. So if you feel you want to pick up something privately with us, please feel free to contact us. We'll be delighted to talk to you further and ask us any questions. Alan, any closing comments from you?
Well, yes, my comment is come and learn and enjoy life. Start thinking about the world in a different way. Start looking at, people. You will never look at another human being in the set way that you look at them now. Every conversation, everything people say to me, I'm listening to the body language. I'm listening to what they're telling me, and I'm getting information without them even realizing they're giving it to me. So it's fascinating. And if I'm fascinated with it, I know I have, as the designer of the training and as a practitioner and tutor, I also have so much to learn. We're all in this learning together. So we come from a philosophy of Ubuntu. I am because you are. This is about sharing and growing as a community. Now, I know and I realize that I will not be here forever. So this is why my main mission is to teach people the best homeopathy, because the next generation has to pass this on. They have to understand health from a very, very different place. And it's not an allopathic place. This is natural healing. It's allowing people to tell you their stories so that you can guide them to heal themselves. They're the teachers. You're a facilitator. The remedies don't cure. It's the patient who cures themselves. And when you understand their story and you can guide them back to health, it's very, very satisfying. So for me, when I'm in the student clinic, when I see the miracles that happen in student clinic, and I think to myself, yeah, the students can do this. The practitioners do even more because they're learning homeopathy at a deeper level. You go through phases where your understanding goes deeper and deeper. So that's where I come from, is have fun learning and enjoying. It's very, very different from the conventional way of trying to beat information into your head. You have to experience learning. It's the experience of it. We want you to experience homeopathy. We want you to experience nutrition. We want you to experience people using your treatment plan to heal themselves. And they can be very complicated cases. If the students at CPH can do it, we can teach you to do it. And I think once somebody said to me, "Oh, you can't teach homeopathy in 2 years." And I said to them, "I think you're asking me the wrong question. You should be asking me, how do you teach homeopaths to be homeopaths in 2 years?" And that's the magic. So thank you to everyone who took time to join us, to ask questions or listen to us prattle on about what we love prattling on about. And we would love to see you at CPH enjoying a learning experience. So thank you very much.
Thank you much, everybody. Thank you very much.